The Cowboys have officially released their unofficial depth chart. They say unofficial depth chart, but I mean, it comes from the Cowboys. It's about as official as you can get. Uh, Coaches like to use that tag unofficial just because they don't necessarily want to commit to any starters or who's winning certain battles that we've been watching. They don't want to commit to that yet. So they'll just tag it with the unofficial, which it's okay just to say these guys are the starters, these guys are the second string, these guys are the third string, and next week that can change. But they don't like tagging it, so they'll call it the unofficial depth chart. But this is what we're rolling with a preseason game just 4 days away for the Cowboys. They got to have something. One thing that you'll notice in this depth chart, Coach Schottenheimer's been doing it now 2 years. If you look at the quarterbacks, you'll see Dak Prescott, the starting quarterback. There's a surprise. Uh, Joe Milton or Sam Howell. They don't want to necessarily say who the backup quarterback is yet, so they'll just designate it with that little or tag, so you can go either way there. How do they pick whose name actually gets to go first? As you'll see, Joe Milton's name technically first in that or. Cowboys veterans, been the team longer. I don't know, but maybe he's just playing better right now, and there's a reason his name comes first. I will say with Joe Milton, and looking at the first few weeks of practice at training camp, Joe Milton has been performing a little better than Sam Howell. But that's where I think the unofficial official depth chart uh, really comes in handy because I like to see if notes that we've kind of seen through the video, social media, and what's been talked about with the Cowboys are certain battles being responded to the same way in the coaches' heads. So you can see some of those things happen. One that'll jump off, right? I think this is probably the first time officially you'll see in the tight end room Jake Ferguson, your starter. Brevin Spanford is your second tight end in front of Luke Schoonmaker. That was something we talked about coming into camp, that Schoonmaker or Spanford was going to take that step and be the second tight end on this team. On this depth chart, there's no or to talk about. Spanford has taken that second tight end job from the second round draft pick, Luke Schoonmaker, back in 2023. Some other things, just kind of, working through it. I mean, a lot of it, no surprises. I will say it's hard to kind of figure out on here because on the receivers they do three, so they have CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Ryan Flanoy. On the second group, they go Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Cavante Turpin, Jonathan Mingo, but they don't rank of like who's the fourth wide receiver coming in. And I'll say based on a lot of practices, the trade may have some return on it. Jonathan Mingo has actually been performing really well for the Cowboys throughout the practices. Really need to see what it looks like when we get into some of these games so we can expect him to be playing in some preseason games. But the main thing, of course, you got to look at the defense, right? That's where, we have the most questions. I love this defensive depth chart now with a Christian Parker new defense. We have 12 players as starters of the 11 it's supposed to be. You'll see they run the three defensive tackles with Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, and then Otito. Now, Otito, in situations where you would run five defensive linemen, three defensive tackles, and then two edge rushers with Donovan and Rashawn Gary on the edge, Otito would be the man in the middle and being that nose tackle for you. Otherwise, when you run a more traditional nickel defense, which you'll be in a majority of the time, Otito will come off the field, and then you'll bring in a extra cornerback. Now, for the Cowboys, they've made it apparent that their extra cornerback or their nickel cornerback is going to be Caleb Downs, and you'll see him right here with the starters officially listed as a defensive back. But you can see with Darion Kendrick, who played nickel for the Rams last year, and then Reddy Stewart, who played nickel for the Cowboys last year, being right behind Caleb Downs. This is your nickel cornerback position. Malik Hooker, the veteran, he's sitting in front of PJ Locke still. Caleb Downs listed twice on this list, right behind Jalen Thompson, who's expected to be one of your starting safeties. One thing that I think is interesting is having Ravel and Kobe Durant. Of course, you have to have that or designation with them, and I agree for this particular battle because they have been really going back and forth. Kobe Durant is the NFL veteran over Shavon Ravel but Ravel, I guess, was with the team last year. Maybe that's why he's getting that first team designation. But I think that's one of the most interesting battles just because it's really been back and forth. Sometimes you have, battles in camp and you're just hoping one guy will perform better than the other. But this is actually going to be a decision you'll have to end up making. Who do you want your other starting cornerback on the other side of Deron Bland to be, whether it be Ravel or Durant, both having great camps so far. Now, another part that I thought was really interesting of where the or comes into play, it's right here at your, I guess this would be your second string defensive end. Sam Williams, uh, been with the team 4 years now, and the rookie Malachi Lawrence, who was your first round pick. Now, I think this is a really interesting of the or case because I think as a team, you would want your first round pick to just win the job, and they would love a reason to stick Malachi Lawrence's name second on this list. Sam Williams was a guy they actually had to sign. They brought him back on I guess you call it a team friendly deal, but they didn't really bring him back for much. It was a 1 year deal, kind of a prove it, last chance to stick with the team. Sam Williams has actually had a pretty great training camp so far. Haven't seen anything from the joint practice they did with the Rams going into that yet. But as far as work against his own team, the padded practices, Sam Williams has really stood out. So I think it's a safe reason to say not only because he's a veteran, him being in that second defensive end spot, but I think he's earned it so far. And he may have a legit rotation and job for this Cowboys team this year. So he's been playing pretty great. A couple of the things that are kind of weird on this. Marquise Bell is your third safety here. He's been with the team for a while. Maybe that's why he's staying in front of Julius Wood right now. That may be one of those things where let's check this depth chart next week because at some point I think it's safe to say Julius Wood will overtake Marquise's Bell spot here. Um, Otherwise, just looking at the depth chart, it's just exciting, of course, just to have the depth chart. I will say Guyton at your starting left tackle, he's got the job over Nate Thomas. Nate Thomas really hasn't shown enough where I'm super confident with him being the backup left tackle, just to be honest with you. And then they have the rookie Drew Shelton as the backup right tackle. So uh, offensive line is still a little bit of a struggle. I think you have 6 offensive linemen that you feel comfortable with. Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, Terrence Steele. That's your starters. And then TJ Bass, who's officially listed as your backup center. But I think he's your backup center, backup left guard, and backup right guard for the team right now.